Across beds, hearts and bucks.
This is Nick Coffer.
BBC Three Counties Radio.
It's Nick Coffer from BBC Three Counties Radio. And we often talk about Bletchley Park. What was it like to live there as a child during the Second World War? Very nearly 1:45 now. Of course, we all know the story and the well-kept secrets of Bletchley Park, something I cover often on this programme. But for several members of one family, it came as quite a shock when all was revealed in 1974. But the Budd family was the only family who lived on the site itself during the war. Neville Budd was the youngest member of that family, his sister Jean Cheshire, and they were just two of four children living on the site. And this is going to be my four... Yes, Jean, go on.
4 living on the site.
4 in total, yeah. This is going to be my easiest interview ever because my question is simply, so what's it like living in Bletchley Park? That's basically the nub of it. Your father was brought to Bletchley Park. Your mum, I know, was a dyed in the wool East Ender. She was from Bow, wasn't she?
Yes, that's correct.
You had no idea why you were brought there?
No, well, what happened was Dad was in the Navy for 25 years and there was a friend that got together, like a shipmate, Harry Hymans, and they became very close friends. And Harry, in a sense, became like our uncle. And so when he left the Navy, he went to Bletchley Park for SIS, which is Naval Intelligence. Yeah. And then there was too much going on there, and they transferred him down to London, to 54 Broadway. And so then... I suppose he recommended Dad to come into that position.
In his stead, yeah.
And Jean Fay moved... Well, Dad moved in 1938 and was working there, and we moved in 1940, January.
Yes.
January 1940.
Jean, talk to me about your mum, because she was quite the character, wasn't she?
Yes, she would help us to go to school from the park, and we would go... through the archway down to school, which was
Church Green Road,
Church Green Road,
yeah.
And it is now 2 cottages. But we had I think we had a privileged childhood living on the park because to our recognition we had nightmares one night, Mum said, and I have since found out that being a steward, it was a bomb that dropped, and there was quite a string of bombs, they call it now. And as we went to school, there was a hole, as I thought, by this cottage. It was a lovely little cottage. I said to the man, "What's happened here?" He said, "A bomb has dropped there, and that is on the way to school," And really, that was the only one I ever knew of.
Yeah. You mentioned the support you got from your mum. I mean, she strikes me as one of those classic East End battle axes. She spoke Cockney, she spoke reverse slang, didn't she?
Yeah, Mum wasn't a battle axe. Mum was a nice little old lady.
She was a very strong character, your mum.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, we used to have passes to go to school. And we used to go out the back gate. Well, sometimes people say we lost them. I always say we didn't lose them, we just mislaid them.
Yeah.
And the guards wouldn't let us back in, although we were the only 3 children that lived there. And we had to go around to the front gate, and Mum...
4. Bobby worked there.
Yeah. I mean, it was us that went to school. And
I'm loving your fingers there, Jean, because they're allowing me to count as we go on. Carry on, Neville.
And so we had to go around to the front gate, and Mum or Dad had to come and collect us. Well, we used to get a bit of a telling off for losing the passes. But then one day, Mum went down to the butcher's in Buckingham Road, which was just near the Saracen's Head.
Yeah.
And Mum was, as I say, a Cockney, took the eggs that Dad... had with the chickens and all that. She was dealing a little bit of a black market, I suppose. And when she come back, the guard at the gate said, "You pass, ma'am?" And she looked in her handbag and didn't have it. And he wouldn't let her in. And he said, "No pass." She said, "But you know me, I live here, I'm Mrs. Budd." He says, "No pass, you're not coming in." And Dad had to come down to say, "Yeah, that's my wife." And after that, we didn't get told off so much for losing, but they stopped giving us the passes eventually.
And all the while, Jean, you had no idea what was going on at Bletchley Park.
No. Father was going to work. That's all I knew about. And there was, for one instant, while I've been a steward, I have heard that Delwyn Knox's ladies were next door to us, number 3 cottage. We lived in number 2 cottage. But one day Mother said to us 3 that were going to school, "Be very quiet, you children, we have ladies working next door." And it wasn't till, as I say, I was a steward there that I realised the importance of those ladies.
And those 9,000 ladies. Did you not see them arriving for work? I mean, it must have looked like quite a sight when these thousands of women moved their way around the huts.
No, we didn't see them because we were left in the back of the cottage behind the mansion. And but our eldest brother, Bobby, he was a driver for the park, and he would drive the wrens backwards and forwards to their billets, to Woburn where they were billeted, and to all the other little places. He would drive the vans, he told me once, to St Albans to drop off a package at Dorothy Perkins, you know. So, and that sort of thing. He would do all those sort of driving jobs, meeting people at the station and things like that.
Just out of interest, why did you end up with a cottage there? What was the privilege that meant that your dad actually lived there?
Dad was in charge of number 2 hut, which was a social hut, but also he had other jobs. He was in the front of the mansion, sharing an office, I think it was room 47 of the mansion, and so he had various jobs, he was like a quartermaster. You know, Mr. Budd, do so-and-so, or get this, or get that. So he was always on call, no matter what.
Was he like a much more glamorous version of a caretaker? Would that be?
Yeah, in a sense, I suppose it would, yeah. Because he also had the transportation. All the posts used to go down to London, and the post was collected from London, but nothing was posted from the park. Bletchley Park for the wrens was known as HMS Pembroke 5.
Right.
So that was for the wrens, because the wrens had to have what we term a stone frigate, which is a shore base. And everything on that shore base is the windows are portholes, the doors are hatches.
Yeah.
That's a deckhead, and this is a deck, and that is even in, as I say, on stone frigate.
I think listening to this, and my listeners would say the same, it's quite astonishing, Jean, that you were there, and you were there for a number of years, and you just had no idea of what was going on in your midst.
No. Working people, of course. They were all working, yes.
That was it, wasn't it? They were, to us, they were people that were just working.
But we met all these people. Well, we didn't meet them. We used to see the people in military dress.
That's right, yeah.
One day we was at the front of the mansion, and Dad said to us children, "Be very quiet and take note of what's happening here today."
That's right.
Well, did we take notice? No, not
Do you
us.
remember what you ate? Were you eating
very
good food? Really?
Very good food.
And that was coming from outside of Bletchley or from inside?
Outside. Mainly, yes. But we had the Americans came in, a little bit after, and they used to have a lovely naffy. So therefore, I think things got moved around quite a bit from there.
Yeah.
And your mum ran the social club, didn't she? So that would have led you to meet other people as well.
Yeah, this was it. As I say, number 2. She was in number 2 hut, helping Dad out with the Foreign Office, and that was where the drinks were served. I mean, we had a privileged life, I suppose, and we were, at school we were never asked. Like, the teacher never said, "What did your father do? Yeah. Where do you live?" Because we couldn't take friends home.
You could not have friends home?
No, not until after the war. No. After the war, Jean and Faye had a birthday party on the main lawn.
Beautiful, yes.
But after the war, the whole of the park was our garden, our playground.
Did that not feel weird for you, though, during the war, that you were told you couldn't take friends there, that something must have triggered in your head thinking this is not normal?
No, I think...
we was always told to be quiet.
Yeah.
I think this was the problem.
Yeah.
Faye said she remembers going to school one day and the teacher asked her a question and she wouldn't answer for fear that she had been told to keep quiet, so...
It was just, to us it was a natural thing, and, I mean, we Mum and Dad and Bobby never, ever told us what they did. even after Dad died in 72, 71.
70,
So he died
yeah.
just before it all came out.
Yes,
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
he did. Yes.
Do you regret that? Because you'd quite like to ask him some questions.
Oh, it's great trying to find out what happened and what he did. You know, it's because when Faye made the wall hanging, which was presented to the Duke of Kent when the park was open, because we were invited to the opening, Bobby, Jean, Faye and myself. And it's the same when you saw us at the Duchess of Cambridge, or saw me, fell over, didn't she?
Oh, right.
Broke her
okay.
shoulder.
Oh, no.
And so, you know, it was great. It wasn't until 1974,
Yeah.
1990, we were at Queensway in the trust shop, Jean and I, did a couple of stints there. And then in 94, we were invited to the park when the Duke of Kent opened it.
Reverse of opening it, it was your dad who closed it, wasn't it, in 1950?
I suppose you can say that, yeah, because Dad took over C Block, which is now the new entrance. And what happened there was that he had some drivers and some people in there, and they used to go out to the different billets and outlying stations to bring in all the equipment or stuff, the bedding, all the equipment that was out there, and then distribute it from C Block out to wherever it had to go.
Were you sad to leave, Jean?
Pardon?
Were you sad to leave?
No, not really, because our lives were continuing. We got married and had children, and our lives have been really wonderful, you know, all through our life. Our father and mother were great people.
Oh, yeah.
Father was quite a strict man, but he was very fair, and we loved them both to bits, you know. So
I mean, Dad made a big Ludo set that we used to take to the lawn, which was about 8 foot square. And we had a bucket with a 4-inch dice in it as that. But that was taken out during the day. Christmas time. People that couldn't get home at Christmas or had no home or family, they were always welcome around to our number 2 cottage. They knew that they could go around there. The door wouldn't be locked. They could come in. Dad used to put some barrels of beer up the hallway. Just walk in, help yourself. We used to play games, charades and Colonel Puff.
yes,
Oh, was Colonel Puff?
Colonel
it
Puff.
was a game.
It was a
yeah.
game.
But the elderly people liked it more because they
Go
could
on,
drink.
how-
They could drink beer.
How does it work?
Oh, well, they all used to sort of have to say this rhyme. I'm Colonel Puff Puff for so-and-so, but...
Just to the health of Colonel Puff
Puff.
for the first time of asking.
Okay.
Take a swig.
Oh, take a swig. Oh, yeah, is that kind
Then
of game?
you kind of wipe your moustache. And then it goes, and then it's, here's to the health of Colonel Puff Puff for the second time of asking.
2 swigs.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
And it
yeah, I
went
see what
on
that is, yeah.
until you got it wrong. And once you got it wrong, they had to fill up your beer. So I think they got it wrong on purpose.
I
Well, I was
think
going to
so.
say, so it sounds like every reason to get it wrong. Of course, the beauty of Bletchley Park today, being the landmark as it is that you're in the privileged position of being able to relive your childhood every day you volunteer there.
Oh, yes.
One day we had a knock-knock at the back door.
Oh, yeah.
And why I remember this, because a young fella came through the back door, dark hair, and I didn't know who he was, but I thought in my innocence that it was a lady staying with us, that it was his mother. But since I've seen the film, I've thought otherwise, you know. I think that could have been Alan Turing coming through, because Dad knew him very well, you know.
Yeah.
And the lady that was staying with us, use your own imagination who that was, I don't
Okay.
know. I thought it was an elderly lady,
Yes.
but to me it would have
But
been...
when you saw a photograph
Okay.
of Alan Turing, you said that was the man.
Yes, yes.
You know,
Interesting.
and
Such a shame, isn't it, that your father passed away just a couple of years before all this was. What's the word when it was removed from the official secret? When it was declassified. That's right.
declassified, yeah.
You know, the questions you would have had for him. Would
It would
just,
have been great. It would have been, you know, as Jean says, you know, because when they made the wall hanging, Faye, I was living in South Africa at that time, and Faye
In
and
Australia.
Jean, they said, what information have you got that we can put in? And so Bobby, myself, and Jean, we will all put in something into that.
yeah.
And Faye made it, which it was great because that was she'd given lectures and won a lot of prizes.
All of this you put into your lovely book called Bletchley Park Family, 1940 to 1950. It's been updated this year by Neville Budd, talking about that time when you were there with Alan Turing, Dilly Knox, some of the great names of Bletchley Park, and it's a lovely recollection of a time in our history that we now look back on with, of course, massive pride. But seeing it through the eyes of young children is an entirely different story at that, and it's really lovely to relive it with both of you in the studio here. Bletchley Park Family, 1940 to 1950. Fancy reading? I'm sure is that on sale in the shop at Bletchley Park?
Sorry?
No. Okay.
I'm not going to say anything. It's just that they've got their own...
You've just been told off by Jean.
Yeah.
Okay. That's my moment. That's my moment to shush up. You're listening to Nick Coffer here on BBC Three Counties Radio.
Local and vocal across beds, hearts and bucks.
This is BBC Three Counties Radio.